Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Altcoin Daily, or I guess I should call it Altcoin Nightly right now, because for me, it is late Saturday night, and had nothing else to do tonight, so I'm just reading up on everything altcoin. If you're new to the channel, you know that what we usually do is bring you daily altcoin information, whether that be deep dives on specific altcoins or ICOs or just the news in general. You guys know I keep you up to date. So, those of you who subscribe, good choice. If you don't subscribe, you're going to want to. Because, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a cryptocurrency expert. But what I am is a guy who's been involved in cryptocurrency for about a year. I've made some money in it. I think I'm going to make a lot more money in it. And I just have a general interest. And I want to share that with you guys. The goal for this channel, for me, is to bring you guys the most value for the least amount. And, watching YouTube videos free. So, I try and cut through all the bullshit and just give you guys the most relevant information. But today, let's get to it. I found a really interesting article. It's called "In 10 Years, We Won't Have Blockchain." And if you're like me, or if you're like, a lot of people interested in technology, you're always trying to think of what's next. Is this going to be around? Because if history tells us anything, at least the history of technology, is that things that were high tech 20 years ago maybe disappeared today. I can't try to think of an example like a Radio Shack or something. I don't know. Anyways, so I came across this article on CoinDesk. In 10 years, we won't have blockchain. It's by this guy named Will Murray. He's the vice president for blockchain at Tela.com, the company behind Botchain. I'm not too familiar with that, but I thought this article was really interesting, and I'm going to read it to you. Let's get into it. So his prediction is we won't have blockchains anymore. And when I first saw that title, I was a little bit, freaks you out a little bit. It's like, oh, I'm investing all this money for, and this guy's saying it's not going to be around in 10 years. What's up? But anyway, let me read it to you. He says, I predict that in 10 years, blockchain technology will improve to a level that calling it blockchain will no longer be a useful term. Okay, well, he says it's going to improve. Let's think about this for a second. Why do we call it a blockchain? The three most interesting parts of a blockchain are, number one, consensus mechanism. What I think he means by that is the fact that a lot of blockchains say they're trustless. You don't even need to worry about trust because since everybody has a copy of the ledger, we have the general consensus that everything is, fair. Number two, management mechanisms. Meta consensus of how to manage future improvements to the overall chain. And three, the structure of blockchain itself. That last one will affect how large the network can get, how fast transaction times will happen, and so on. And the structure of the blockchain is why we call it a blockchain. So, what do we mean by blockchain? Let's break out the two component terms. Block, a bunch of transactions bundled together. Chain, the blocks cryptographically connected in a linear fashion. Okay, we're all understanding this so far. Bye-bye blocks. I think, says Will, in the future, the block will not be needed. In its place will be a system where transactions are linked together and can confirm previous transactions. In order to submit your next transaction, you will need to validate others in the queue. In order to get what you want, which is your transaction submitted, you have to do some work for others. Why do it in this way? Transaction times in this model would be faster than, for example, Bitcoin's transaction times today. It's no secret. Bitcoin has relatively high transaction times compared to some. Anyway, the miner is technically removed and each transaction validates past transactions. Transaction times can actually go down as more people use the system. Okay, that's really interesting. So it's saying as more people get involved in the, they're not calling it a blockchain, as more people get involved in this thing, it's actually going to get faster because to get involved and to do a transaction, you have to verify two other transactions. So what's next? Ciao to chains. I also think in the future, the chain won't be a single directional string of blocks. I think it will look more like a mesh or a graph. Maybe we could have a nonlinear set of branches that go in several different directions, where many parallel transactions are happening. So maybe we'll call it a transaction graph. I've also seen the term tangle in the IOTA protocol for early similar concepts. Yes, that's true. What he's describing is something very similar to IOTA. Well, I'll touch on that at the end. Maybe we'll call it the graph, much the same way we speak of the cloud today. We will all save information and transactions into this global graph, whether we know it or not. Enter the DAG. The closest thing I've seen so far that matches my imagined path is the directed acyclic graph. This is a picture of that. In mathematics and computer science, a directed acyclic graph is a finite directed graph with no directed cycles. So they call it a DAG. A DAG model works differently than a blockchain. A common blockchain requires miners to maintain blocks, but a DAG wouldn't need proof of work or blocks. New models of management would be needed. So there's a lot of work to do, but this model theoretically gets better as new nodes are added. So it may be an improved model for both fees, or in Ethereum parlance, gas, and scalability over the current blockchain models. In the future, we have something that does what a blockchain does, only better. There are still challenges to this model, so I don't know how this will play out, but I think the design is intriguing. I'm curious to see how it develops. So that's really interesting. Nobody really knows, where blockchains are going to be in 10 years and where this cryptocurrency is going to be in 10 years. If history is anything, a lot of people compare this to the internet bubble in 1995. And at the time, basically if you were a company and you started a website, all you had to do was start a website, get online, and your stock went up. You were, the talk of the town. And after the bubble burst, a lot of those companies disappeared. Some companies remained, like Google or Amazon or stuff like that. So obviously, just when you're investing, if you believe in the future of this technology, that's the kind of things you should be investing on. But anyway, Will Murray, he talked about IOTA. And for those of you who don't know what IOTA is, what they use instead of a blockchain is a tangle. And this is a quick explanation of IOTA. I put it up to 1.25 speed to save some time. We'll just get the facts. It's on the YouTube channel Everything Tangle, but let's listen in.
IOTA makes use of distributed ledgers. Unlike most cryptos, it does not use a blockchain. Instead, it uses a technology its developers call the tangle, which is based off of a mathematical concept known as directed acyclic graphs. This was a purposeful move from the developers, as within this design is what separates IOTA from every other cryptocurrency. Within the design, we have the removal of miners, without sacrificing decentralization. With the need for miners removed, so are the need for fees. Yes, IOTA is completely free to use. This is because everyone plays an equal role in the network. Anytime a transaction is made, the issuer must help authenticate to previous and random transactions. It uses a series of cryptographic algorithms along with many other sophisticated techniques to do this work. This work is done behind the scenes, on such a small scale that any device could manage it without effort. Ultimately, a network like this allows for two important features: microtransactions and speed. Microtransactions are transactions that can be worth fractions of cents, and cryptos like Bitcoin face many issues with this, largely due to the necessity of miners. In short, you couldn't purchase a coffee with most blockchain-based cryptos. Moving on, we have speed. In cryptocurrency, speed is measured by TPS, transactions per second. We covered this in our last video, IOTA by the numbers. We suggest checking that out if you haven't already. In simple terms, none of us want to be stuck waiting hours for a transaction. Ultimately, with IOTA, the more people that use the network, the faster it becomes, alleviating the issues blockchain-based cryptocurrencies face today. It is these two features that give rise to IOTA's purpose, which is to support and facilitate a machine-to-machine economy.
All right, so that's the gist of it. If you want, you should check out this guy's channel, watch the whole thing. He's got a lot of good videos. I'm going to check, see if I'm following him right now. I'm not following him, but I should. I want to be involved in the community. I subscribed. All right, so, as you just saw, that's IOTA. They use a Tangle type system rather than a blockchain. And when you do a transaction, 2 more transactions have to be verified, so that zero fees and the speed is very high. If you were looking to get involved, which, take a quick look at the market cap right now. It's sitting at 209. Let's go to all. Its highest high back in early December was, almost just getting $5, and now we're at 209. So, if you're interested in this kind of thing, I'd definitely take a look at IOTA. I think in the coming weeks, I'm definitely going to be doing a deep dive on IOTA. Once again, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe. Or if you even have a comment, where do you see the future of blockchain going? Let me know in the bottom. We'll start a discussion. If you're new to the channel, check out my deep dive on Nulls coin or Nulls token, and also Power Ledger. Just think, guys, I pulled up this page, how 20 popular websites looked when they launched. So, back in 1996, people saw this, whether they believed in it or not, they're like, wow, it can't get better than this. Look where Google is today. People saw this in 2004. Wow, it can't get better than this. What could be better than this? There's nothing. Look where Facebook is today. MySpace, wow, can't get better than this. And, MySpace disappeared, like many cryptocurrencies will. And, it's just something to think about. Always trying to look a few steps ahead and predict the coming trends in technology. Anyways, that's enough. See you tomorrow, guys. Good night.